This is Queasy Crayfish, and you're watching a speed run instead of a let's play. A speed run of the Journeyman Project Turbo, which is a 1994 PC game, point-and-click adventure game, and probably the first PC game that I ever played in my life. And I always loved this game, and maybe someday I'll do an actual let's play, a slow play, and show what it's all about. But this is just gonna be a speed run. And as far as I know, I was the first person to do a speed run of this game, at least on the internet. I think it was 2015 or maybe even 14 that I did some runs of this game on Twitch, and I came up with a lot of the original strategies for the speed run. And just recently I saw a post by Rebcart, which I will link in the description, which was a newer speedrun of the game that had some things I didn't know that you could do, and some things that I did know that he wasn't doing, and that kind of inspired me to get back into this game and try running it again. This is any percent, meaning I'm not trying to pick up all the items, I'm not trying to complete every puzzle. This is just trying to get from start to finish as quickly as possible, and ended up getting a pretty decent time. Originally, when I was running this game, it was I was running it on a virtual machine off of the actual disc, and it was cool to run it off the actual disc, but there's a lot of load times involved because obviously the disc has to spin up and has to load all these canned animations and stuff that you see throughout the game. The game's very heavy on animations and unskippable cutscenes and stuff like that. So with every one of those, there was a little bit of loading, and so that the final time ended up being a little bit longer than it really had to be, because I'm running this one on DOSBox that you see here, and that eliminates basically all of the loading times, and means that you can get a much faster time. So that's pretty much it for background. Basically, the whole strategy for this game is to buffer inputs as much as possible, because you can, while these cutscenes are playing, and doors are opening and closing and stuff, and the game is basically paused, you can input all of your next directional movements, and you can even click on items that are not in front of you and enter passcodes like I just did there. 6894895 is the code to get into this door. I had that memorized by the time I was doing this video. And yeah, I mean, like for instance here, while I was in the transporter, I was buffering the walk up to the door here, buffering the passcode, the walk through the door, turning left again, and entering into the command center, and then walking up to the screen and clicking on the monitor in the upper left-hand corner and entering the passcode there as well. So all of that has been buffered at this point, and basically I'm just sitting and waiting. And it seems kind of ridiculous at this point, because the early game there's a lot of this and a lot of sitting around waiting. But actually there's quite a lot of gameplay, especially with the DOSBox version, because you don't get as much time to wait between movements. And so really after the first, I'd say about the first 6 minutes, it's pretty much non-stop gameplay, except for one extended cutscene that cannot be skipped. And so yeah, I'll kind of try to talk through and do some commentary while we're taking a look at this speed run here, because this is, as far as I know, this is the best time anyone has ever gotten in this game. And yeah, so we're going into the command center now. And unfortunately, I'm not sure why, but the videos that are supposed to play on this monitor that you see coming up here, the upper left-hand corner, there's supposed to be a bunch of videos that you go through and review procedure or whatever. It's just a story element to the game right here, and you're supposed to just at least click on them and then click out of them. And for some reason, with this DOSBox version, the videos will not load. It'll still play the sound, but it doesn't load the actual video. So I'm not sure if there are other videos for which that is the case throughout the game. And if you're paying attention to the story at this point, basically the premise of the game is you are a time travel security agent, in the sense that since time travel is a reality, there's always a threat that someone can go back in time and alter things in history, and create complications for people in the present. And I always thought that was a cool premise to a video game, or just to anything really. And so you play as a character that is one of these agents that is tasked with going back in time and correcting a temporal, I guess, what do they call it? Temporal, I can't think of the word now, but it's a rip basically in time. Something has been changed, and it causes all sorts of other changes to occur in a distortion wave, so people can be unborn or have their lives completely changed by the time that distortion wave reaches the present. And the job of the agent is to go back in time to prehistoric times and collect a historical log, and then compare that with the changes that have occurred in history, and then go back to the points in history where things have changed and correct those changes. So it's kind of complicated, but it does make sense if you think about it. So this is the time machine you see here. And coming up here, this is a strategy that I did not know when I was originally running the game. I did not know you could skip. Normally you would walk right up to the time machine, and that door directly in front of me here would open, and there'd be a little animation, but I did not realize that by turning around and then walking backwards here, you can just skip that entire animation and get right in the time machine. And it makes sense, because there are multiple times in this run where I will be walking backwards to skip animations, because they don't play if you are not facing them. And that was one where I just never had considered that it was even a possibility. So now here, I'm going to load up the Pegasus biochip there in the corner, and then input all of my inputs to get to this Journeyman key slot here, and also skipping multiple animations in this section as well, because there's dinosaurs that pop up and roar at you or whatever. And so walking backwards through those, again, we'll skip them entirely. So now we have the historical log, and we are going to exit the time machine. Very, very slowly, of course. And you have to walk all the way back up to the command center at this point, and insert the historical log disk into the computer. And this was, I mentioned RebCart in the beginning of this video. This is one strategy that he apparently was unaware of. You do not need to view all of the videos in the computer once you put the historical log disk into the computer, although he was doing 100%, so maybe there is some stipulation about you have to watch those videos or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, basically all you have to do is put the disk in the computer. You don't have to watch any videos or anything. Of course, this is where I mess up putting the disk in the computer, so I lost a couple of seconds there. But basically all you gotta do is put the disk in the computer and then walk out the door. You don't have to watch any more videos or anything like that, or enter any more passwords. And then we're gonna head back to the time machine. And if I should have actually tested this. I'm not sure if maybe you don't even have to put the disk in the computer. Maybe you can just exit the time machine and then re-enter it and still access the new time zones. Although I may have tested that back when I was originally running this game. I'm not sure. So again, here we're doing the backup into the time machine. And now we are going to go to the Mars colony. My original route for this game, I would do the Science Center first, just because it was the easiest one, but that's really, well, it's the easiest one, and you actually have to collect an item there for use in the NORAD time zone. But instead I decided to do Mars first in this route, because it just makes more sense. given the puzzle that is about to come up here that's basically just entirely luck based. So it's good to get that one out of the way. If you're gonna kill your run, you might as well do it early instead of waiting till later. So yeah, that first part too, when you arrive at Mars, that is probably the most difficult move to buffer in during the loading sequence, because you have to walk backwards 18 times, turn right, walk forward 4 times, and then turn right again, and then open the door. And you only get like a couple of seconds actually to input that, which was very difficult to get it done consistently. But I managed to do it here. I ended up loading up that Pegasus biochip. Actually helps quite a lot. If you try to do it just in the moment that you have between leaving the time machine and arriving on Mars, that's basically impossible. I think I don't see any way you can fully buffer that unless you're really, really fast at counting. So we got the oxygen mask. In theory, I guess you could put the oxygen mask on at a different point, but since it is already highlighted in the inventory once you pick it up at this point, I figured it would just be easier and faster to put it on right then. And so we're heading on down to the Mastermind puzzle. This is a completely RNG puzzle. There's no real strategy for it except using logic, and it's totally random. I've tried reloading the game and all sorts of different tricks, but it's completely random every time. So there's nothing you can really do to prepare for it. You just have to be fast and hope you get basically good luck on the first couple of attempts. And this is, in this run, a couple of runs before this, actually, I had a really excellent Mastermind puzzle, and I ended up saving 44 seconds, I think, off of the next split, because I got all of the puzzles within the first, 2 or 3 attempts, I think. And that was a fantastic Mastermind segment. And unfortunately, that run died later on to the game crashing, and also the trackball puzzle being ridiculous and not working properly. So that run was lost, and I had to do it again multiple times. And this one is okay. It's probably about an average Mastermind time. It was good getting the first puzzle there, the first level within the first 2 attempts. This one is a little shaky. I think I might even actually, yeah, I think I have a mistake here as well. Or no, I just spent a little too much time thinking about it. Oh yeah, no, that's not really a mistake, I guess. But yeah, once you're getting down to 5 or 6 or 7 attempts, it's basically run over if you're trying to go for a really good time. So I end up getting 30 minutes and 33 seconds. I think if you were to get a perfect Mastermind segment, first try on all of them, and the trackball puzzle in NORAD doesn't mess with you, then it is definitely possible to get sub 30 in this game. It's just getting lucky on those 2 segments is, you'd have to just keep attempting this dozens of times, I'm sure. And this one, I think I get it either here or on the next one. Yeah, it must be the next one. So this is actually maybe a little bit below average for Mastermind. At least I didn't get down to the final attempt. So the explosive device has been disarmed, and I think I only ended up saving 24 or 26 seconds here, which is still good, but could have been way better. Could have been, as much as a minute probably. And this is another strategy that I came up with. This was basically once you get the card bomb, especially when I was originally running this game, I didn't know that you could skip the whole time travel cutscene, because normally when you travel to a time zone, there's a whole cutscene that plays with you traveling through time or whatever, and I didn't even know you could skip that by just pressing the space bar. So with that knowledge, it's much faster to, once you get the access card bomb, which you'll need for the end of the game, and also to complete this the Mars segment, you just jump back to the time machine and then jump back into the beginning of the Mars stage again, and then enter the space shuttle, because it does save your progress for whatever reason. I guess because you have the access card bomb in your inventory, that's basically the key to get into this space shuttle. And this is kind of this is the only real break at this point in the game, because it's been pretty much non-stop clicking and directional inputs from prehistoric up to this point. So at this point we get a nice little breather here with this long cutscene of traveling through the Mars valleys here in our space shuttle. And if you were to be doing this 100% peaceful run, you would be looking at a slightly longer segment here, because instead of using the graviton cannon, once you get to space, you'll be using the energy damping beam and the tractor beam to peacefully take out Ares, who is the robot for this section, as you'll see. And that involves, of course, shooting... well, I guess you do use the graviton cannon as well. You use it to get him down to low health, but then you have to use an energy damping beam, and that involves some target practice. And then to use the tractor beam, which means you have to wait for the ship to enter into the middle of the screen, and then you have to wait also for an animation of boarding the ship and watching Ares fall over and his head open up, and then you take out his biochips and all that stuff. So there's a little more to it. It makes this segment a little bit longer, but since this is any percent, we can just do the graviton cannon and don't even have to worry about all that. We just blast him with impunity.
The graviton cannon is a highly destructive combat weapon. The energy damping beam will safely drain a targeted ship of energy for tracking purposes. The tractor beam can only hold a targeted ship whose energy level has been drained below 10%. Attention tower, shuttles 2 and 3 have both armed their weapons.
So at this point I've already clicked on the graviton cannon, and I am just waiting to regain control and clicking frantically at the screen to shoot as fast as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much all you gotta do. 3 shots, blows up the ship, and Mars is complete. And splitting as soon as the little window in the bottom right hand corner flips down, split. So you say, oh, it actually saved 29 seconds. I thought it was like 24 or something. And so that's probably the hardest section out of the way. And that's a good thing. So now we definitely got a run going at this point, and we will go to the Science Center, which we must do before NORAD, because we need the retinal scan biochip, which only Mercury has. Mercury is that robot there in front of us. And again, this is another skip that normally, if you were playing this game normally, you would be led to believe that he shoots you with this tranquilizer dart, and you have to remove it, and you have to analyze it, and synthesize a compound to give yourself an antidote in this little lab room here, and you would be led to believe that that is what you must do to complete the stage. But actually, you can just walk right out the door in the game. If you're fast enough, the game doesn't even care that you have that you've been shot with the tranquilizer. You can get this whole section done before you even suffer the effects of it. So that's a puzzle that you can just completely skip, which would take you probably at least a minute if you were really fast, a minute or two. So that's a big chunk of time saved. And the peaceful route for this boss here, this robot, would be to have grabbed the wire clippers in Mars on the little underground monorail, and then cutting open the sprinkler system control over on the left side of the screen there, and killing the robot that way. But using the electrical wire, it's just much faster. So we need the stun gun. We need also the retinal scan biochip, which we have now from Mercury. So that is the Science Center complete. And at this point, we are going to go to the final time zone, which is NORAD. And NORAD is probably, I guess it would be the second easiest and the second hardest time zone, because there's a puzzle in this section that is just not very well made. It's not difficult if you know geography, but it is not very. It just doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and it was prone to freezing with DOSBox for whatever reason. So, since we already have the oxygen mask equipped, I don't even have to equip it at this point. Normally you would. And we're going to walk forward and then walk backwards down this hallway, because that way we can avoid a cutscene where Poseidon, the robot in this stage, shoots you with some kind of energy ball and lowers your energy. And that's a nice little skip to know there. I'm just going to lower the pressure to get through this door. And 4 steps forward. Open the next door, forward, and then turn left, open the next door. There's not really much to this part of the stage. You just kind of walk through the whole stage once, and then once you return to the main hallway, you can then access the, I guess it would be the nuclear launch room, after equipping the retinal scan biochip at this point, because you're about to get retinally scanned. Retinally, I don't know if that's even a word. Get your retinas scanned. And I have had trouble with that sometimes. Sometimes the arrows there on the inventory monitor are not very functional, and will just skip items altogether, or go 2 or 3 spaces too many. So sometimes that can be difficult to fumble around with that thing. I don't know why it does that. So we're getting retina scan here. There's no way to skip this as far as I know. Okay, now we are going into the launch room, and we're getting taunted by Poseidon. And yeah, this whole puzzle, you have to basically, he has authorized a nuclear strike towards Gorbistan, which is some kind of made-up Middle Eastern country, I guess. And you have to deactivate all these missile silos to avert a nuclear strike. So the only way to do that, for whatever stupid reason, is to click on this little trackball that's right there in the bottom of the screen, and to highlight all of these nuke silos. And some of them, like right there, as you can see, the silo itself that you have to highlight is not even, the actual part that you have to highlight is to the right of the dot that you would think you were supposed to click on. So good luck with that. And yeah, basically, I mean, if you know basic geography, this puzzle isn't too bad. It's more just getting the trackball to go where you want it to go, and getting the highlighting of these regions to work properly, because like right here, yeah, you can see I'm just kind of dancing around the dot, and it doesn't always work the way it should. Apparently this puzzle is a lot easier in Pegasus Prime, the remaster of this game. I don't know, I never really enjoyed that game too much. I've never gotten to this point in the game. But any improvement would be welcome. So there's several silos also that you have to deactivate. I think there's like probably 9 or 10 of them. So, and some of them are, as a kid, this puzzle was just impossible for me, because I didn't know geography at all. Not that I'm a geography expert, but these aren't too difficult. So
Korea. Launch to proceed in 1 minute.
Give up, human, or I will
Seoul, Korea.
Silo deactivated. New launch silo.
And this puzzle just goes on and on and on and on, and it can get really frustrating. Like I was saying, that run before this, they had a really good mastermind. I got stuck on the very first silo on this trackball puzzle, and just could not get the highlighting of it to work for some reason. And that basically killed the run, and then shortly thereafter the game just froze anyway, so that was the death knell. And I've had it also, the Iceland one that I just did a couple of attempts ago, that one sometimes is really hard to highlight as well. And now, thankfully, we are through with this puzzle. That was a pretty good segment there. That didn't waste too much time. So I'd say slightly above average on that attempt there. And then of course I get a couple of stupid wall bumps at this point because I am just so keyed up about this run, and because I so rarely even get to this point that I think I just forgot how many spaces to move forward to get out of that room and to get down the hallway there. So there's a couple of unintentional wall bumps there. And there's two ways to dispose of Poseidon here. You can either do it this way by raising the pressure in the adjacent room, which kills him slightly faster than using the claw over to the left side of the room. Just because I think there's less, you don't have to listen to him talk or anything like that, and you don't have to watch as many animations. And I believe I did time this out actually at one point years ago. And it's just like maybe 10 seconds faster or something to do it this way. So that is the end of NORAD. We are just going to take the biochip from Poseidon here to make him go away, and that will complete the mission. For some reason it's taking long. And early split, because I had forgotten that the retinal scan chip was still up. So here comes an early split. Yep, there it is. So split was a few seconds too fast, but still good. Still would have been gold. Saved 1 minute and 5 seconds, and now all we got to do is go back to where we began the game, Caldoria Heights Apartments. So we're going to exit the time machine once again and walk back all the way through the TSA. We have all the items we will need to complete the game. We have the access card bomb, and we have the stun gun. And there's not a whole lot else to really talk about here. It's all pretty much straightforward. I had thought that maybe there would be some way to back into the global transporter the way you do with the time machine, but I did test that out and it didn't seem to work, so that is unfortunate because that would have saved another few seconds, just being able to walk backwards and skip the whole animation of the thing opening up and the seat rolling forward and everything. And yeah, here we are. This is the end of the game. And normally, I guess if you were playing this, blindly, you would just be kind of confused at this point, because I don't know. It doesn't really give you a whole lot of direction. It just tells you that the source of the temporal rip has not yet been completely solved. And so, I mean, my first inkling would not be necessarily to return to the apartment building, but yeah, the source of the temporal rips has not yet been discovered. I don't know how they would know that. I guess the rips were resolved, but the source of them, so they're still trying to figure out who did this. I guess maybe if you were paying attention and watching all of the cutscenes and paying close attention to the story, you might figure it out. There's a lot to do with Elliot Sinclair. In fact, all of the robots do drop biochips that will explain what their mission was, why they were sent there, and you get to see Elliot Sinclair, who is an actor, I forget what his name is, Graham something or other. Does a pretty good job, actually, giving them their mission. Basically, he's just a mad scientist who invented time travel and mistrust aliens and so on and so forth, and he's trying to stop these aliens from contacting Earth, and that's pretty much the whole story. What it revolves around, kind of these two separate sci-fi elements going on at the same time. So we're gonna go up to the roof of the apartment building now. We're gonna put the access card bomb in the door and just blow a hole in the door. And there's Elliot Sinclair right there, the guy who sent all the robots back in time. I'm going to click through the inventory and hastily select stun gun and shoot him in the back to end the game. And 30:33 is the final time. I might have actually stopped the timer a little late, but whatever, we'll go with it. So yeah, that's the Journeyman Project Turbo. Like I said, at some point I might go through and do an actual Let's Play of this game and explain more about it, but just wanted to do a quick run to show some of the improvements that could be made on the any percent route. This is not the fastest time I think that one could get, but it is pretty good. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.